So, hello everyone again. This is lecture 3 part 1 of semiconductor electronics, materials, devices and simple circuits. Let's begin our discussion further on the topic of intrinsic semiconductors, and then after the intrinsic is over we will go on to extrinsic semiconductors. What is the difference between this intrinsic and extrinsic will be dealt in the subsequent slides. So, let us start the discussion. So, I am Samir Lavankar. Let us begin our discussion. Okay. So, right now we are on the third topic, that is intrinsic semiconductors. Before this we have already completed with the introduction, as in the history of the semiconductor devices, what were the different vacuum tubes which were being used previously, then how were they converted, what were the differences between a metal tube and the present semiconductor devices, the integrated chips, etc. Then we went on to the second topic, that is classification of metals, conductors and semiconductors, in which we understood the different modes in which we can classify the metals, conductors and semiconductors. New terminologies like conduction band, then valence band, then holes, etc. were being dealt in the second and third point. Right now we are on the third topic, that is intrinsic semiconductors, in which we are understanding. So, the basic points of understanding in the third part is that we should understand what are holes, what is basically intrinsic concentration, what is basically the concentration of electrons, what is the concentration of holes. Also we also understood in the last point of the last lecture was that the total current is due to the current due to holes also plus current due to electrons also. Let us begin the further discussions after this topic. Okay. So, intrinsic semiconductors. Okay. So, these all things are already been completed. In the last lecture we understood the complete definition of what are holes, and also one basic concept, that for intrinsic semiconductors, please remember that for intrinsic semiconductors Ne is equal to Nh is equal to Ni. Okay. What is Ni here? Ni is called as the intrinsic carrier concentration, please remember this. Okay. Next thing is the final discussion of the last topic was that we understood the concept that total current in intrinsic semiconductor is the sum of the electron current, that is IE, and hole current IH. Okay. Therefore, the total current I is equal to IE plus IH. Okay. Let us move on to today's discussion now. Okay. Fine. So, please concentrate here now, because a little regarding concepts regarding your conduction band, valence band, etc. will be dealt here. Okay. Just a recap about what are all these things here. So, basically we know that for semiconductor devices there is an energy gap between the conduction band and the valence band. So, if that energy gap is less than 3 electron volts, then those things are comprised, or those things are defined as semiconductors, so that the electrons which are present in the below band can jump up to the higher band. Okay. So, this was one of the concept. Then this energy difference is called as your energy gap, and let us now discuss the further topics, further discussion which is being dealt here. Okay. So, please look over here carefully. So, it may be noted that apart from the process of generation of conduction electrons and holes. So, what are conduction electrons? Basically conduction electrons are these electrons which are, let us say this electron which is being moved on. So, basically as this is free electron, this electron can also be called as a conduction electron. Okay. So, it may be noted that apart from the process of generation of conduction electrons and holes, a simultaneous process of recombination occurs, in which the electrons recombine with the holes. So, this is the only concept being dealt here, that let us say that there is an electron being residing here, then that there is a movement, there is a continuous movement, let us say it is moving here, the let us say the electron at this portion is moving this portion, then it may go to this portion, let us say, then it may move to this portion. So, there is a continuous movement of this electrons, and if there is a movement of electron, there is also a movement of holes. Okay. So, it is just written here, it will be noted that apart from the process of generation of conduction electrons and holes, a simultaneous process of recombination occurs, in which the electrons recombine with the holes. So, as you can see that even with the movement, so basically what is happening here, as you can see that there is a hole, there is an electron. If it comes here back or it moves from its position, we can also say that there is a recombination happening, right. So, that is only being dealt here. So, at equilibrium, the rate of generation is equal to the rate of recombination of charge carriers. Quite evident, because let us say this electron from this portion has moved apart. So, the rate, let us say the rate of generation is, let us say 1 only per second, the amount of electrons which are being removed from the actual base, let us say semiconductor, is let us say 1. At the same time, what will happen is, let us say if there is a hole created here, then at the next instant what will happen is, let us say that this electron will go and reach this place. So, there will be recombination, and only as the position left is only 1, therefore, only one electron from any another position will go to the hole. therefore the amount of electrons at that time is also 1, therefore the rate of generation of electrons, free electrons, is equal to rate of generation of your let us say recombination. Okay. Why it is like this? Because the amount of holes are always constant only, they differ, or the amount of holes generated depends upon the amount of electrons which are being let us say removed out or ejected out from its normal position, or basically which are free electrons. Okay. So, at equilibrium the rate of generation is equal to the rate of recombination of charge carriers. The recombination occurs due to an electron colliding with a hole. Okay. So, basically what basic thing is, do not go into very much detail. So, basically this is an electron, when it collides with a hole, or let us say it places it in its position, then that process is called as recombination. So, the recombination occurs due to an electron colliding with a hole. An intrinsic semiconductor will behave like an insulator at T is equal to 0 kelvins as shown in figure A. So, this point was also being discussed in the previous discussion also, that an intrinsic semiconductor will behave as a insulator at T is equal to 0 kelvins, okay, as you can see here also. So, basically all the electrons which are being used for conduction are present in the valence band only. At 0 kelvins there is no, what we can say, no such amount of energy which can be imparted into this, so that it can move to the conduction band. Hence, the semiconductors at 0 kelvins will behave as insulators. So, this is just a theory discussion only, there is nothing much to be understood here, you can just remember it. This was also been discussed in the previous lecture also. Okay. So, it is a thermal energy at higher temperature, that is T is equal to greater than 0 kelvins, which excites some electrons from the valence band to the conduction band. Okay. So, what happens is, let us say as the temperature keeps on increasing, then there is a time at which the energy is such that the energy of these electrons is such that it encompasses or it projects out of the Eg energy gap, and hence it can move from the valence band to the conduction band. Fine. So, it is a thermal energy at higher temperatures T greater than 0 kelvins, which excites some electrons from the valence band. Please remember, this is your valence band, and to the conduction band, this is your conduction band. Okay. These thermally excited electrons at T greater than 0 kelvins partially occupy the conduction band, as you can see here. So, this line can be understood from this figure here. So, what happens is, let us say we are talking about, let us say for example 300 kelvins. Right. So, as 300 kelvins is greater than 0 kelvins, what is happening here is some amount of electrons, please remember this is your valence band, some amount of electrons from the valence band due to the thermal energy being obtained by those electrons gets excited up and moves from valence band to the conduction band. So, as you can see, there are these 4 electrons being residing now in the conduction band at temperature T is equal to 300 kelvins. Let us say this is the diagram for 0 kelvins and this is the diagram for 300 kelvins. Okay. Now, as we have already understood the complete concept of band theory of solids, in which we discussed that as the number of holes, as the number of electrons are being generated or they are excited from the valence band to the conduction band, there are holes generated. In the intrinsic semiconductor concepts also we understood this concept, that when the electrons are being present in the conduction band, then it is for sure that there are some holes present in the valence band. Why? Because in the initial state, let us say we are considering the assumption part of the initial part to be T is equal to 0 kelvins. At T is equal to 0 kelvins, what is happening is all the electrons are residing in the valence state, because there is no excitation. Now, as the temperature keeps on increasing, the energy present or the energy being capacitated by the electron keeps on increasing. This energy, when it is such that it is greater than, let us say for a semiconductor the energy gap is 3 electron volts. So, if it reaches 3 electron volts or reaches just above 3 electron volts, then some of the electrons which are having energy greater than 3 electron volts will go from the valence band to the conduction band. When it goes from the valence band to the conduction band, there are holes being generated in the valence band, and the conduction band would have holes. Those holes are used, or those holes gets collided with the electrons and recombination happens. So, basically there is a evolvement, or let us say there is a generation of holes here. So, let me just write it here so that it will be much more clearer. So, basically let us say I denote it as region 1 and let us say I denote this as region 2. Okay. So, what happens in region 1? There is generation of holes, and what happens in region 2? Recombination happens. Recombination happens. What is recombination? Basically collision of holes with electrons. Okay. So, this is the point which is being explained by this line here, this. So, these thermally excited electrons at T is equal to 0 kelvins partially occupy the conduction band. So, this is how partial occupancy of the electrons in the conduction band is happening. Okay. Therefore, the energy band diagram of an intrinsic semiconductor will be as shown in the figure B. So, as you can see here, so this is that diagram. So, let me just erase it for much clarity. So, this is the intrinsic semiconductor diagram which is shown in figure B here. Okay. Here some electrons are shown in the conduction band. As you can see, this is your conduction band. So, this is your conduction band and this is your valence band. Okay. So, here some electrons are shown in the conduction band. As you can see, some electrons are present in the conduction band. These have come from the valence band, leaving equal number of holes here. So, as you can see, the number of conduction band electrons in conduction band is 4, and you can see clearly that the number of holes being generated in the valence band is also 4. Okay. Fine. So, this thing is also been explained. Let us move on to the next discussion then. Okay, let me just explain this example. This is being also related to some of the discussions of intrinsic semiconductor only. Okay, so please look over here. So, the question says that is a theory question. So, carbon, silicon and germanium have the same lattice structure. Same lattice structure, as you can see, if you will see the periodic table also, carbon, silicon and germanium are in the same table, are in the same column. Okay, so why is carbon an insulator, but silicon and germanium are intrinsic semiconductors? So, what actually happens? The solution says that the 4 bonding electrons of carbon, silicon and germanium lie respectively in the second, third and fourth orbit. So, this is quite evident that as the row in as we go down downward towards the column, the amount of atomic number keeps on increasing. Therefore, the number of electrons being present in the germanium is much higher than silicon than carbon. Hence, energy required to take out an electron from these orbits, that is ionization energy Eg, will be least for germanium. Why? Because the electrons present in the more outer orbit of the germanium is at a very much higher distance than the carbon atom, or let us say the silicon atom, because as we go further, the amount of what we can say, the amount of attraction from the proton, the energy amount of attraction from the proton towards the electron keeps on decreasing as we go away from the let us say proton or the center part, right. For carbon it is very less, then for silicon it is much higher, and then germanium it is much higher. Hence, the amount of energy required to take out this electron from the germanium is very much less, followed by silicon and highest for carbon. Hence, the number of free electrons for conduction in silicon and germanium are significant, but negligible small for C. Okay. So, this is the very easy, this is just a theoretical concept. This you may have also answered if your chemistry concepts are clear. Okay. So, okay, so this thing is also done. Let us move on to now the extrinsic semiconductors. Okay. So, just a recap of intrinsic semiconductors. What are the basic things which you need to remember for intrinsic semiconductor? The first thing is that for intrinsic semiconductors, the number of free electrons, that is denoted by Ne, is equal to the number of holes, that is Nh, which is also equal to Ni. Okay, so this is the first thing which you need to remember, and second thing you need to remember is the total current I is the sum of the electron current IE and hole current IH, because these all concepts will be used when we will understand NPN, diodes, transistors, etc. Okay, that is why I am just keeping you intact with the concepts which are required in the subsequent slides. Fine. So, let us start the next concept now, that is extrinsic semiconductors. Okay. So, first was intrinsic, now next is extrinsic. Fine. So, extrinsic semiconductors, what happens here? So, the conductivity of an intrinsic semiconductor depends on its temperature, quite evident, because in the last topic discussion also we also understood that for at T is equal to 0 kelvins, the semiconductor behaves as an insulator, but as we keep on increasing the temperature, there is a time at which the thermal energy being acquired by the electrons is much higher than the energy gap. When such thing happens, the amount of some of the electrons from the valence band gets excited up and goes to the conduction band. And due to this movement of the electrons, let us say from the valence band to the conduction band, or let us say inside the conduction band only, leads to the production of energy. So, why the energy, or let us say current is generated? The current is generated due to the movement of electrons, that is IE, and also as the electrons are being moved, there is a difference, there is a movement of holes also. So, due to this movement of holes and due to this movement of electrons, there is a conduction of electricity. So, the conduction of an intrinsic semiconductor depends on its temperature, but at room temperature its conductivity is very low. So, generally for our day to day use we need such conductors which can be at least used for room temperature. If it would not be used for room temperature, then the application or applicability to use it in day to day life is very less. So, scientists or researchers try to reduce some new things, so that those conductors or those semiconductors can be used in room temperature also. Okay. So, what were the things being explained will be dealt here. So, as such, no important electronic devices can be developed using these semiconductors, quite evident, because majority of the things which we need in day to day life should be at least working in room temperature. Hence, there is a necessity of improving their conductivity. So, how the conductivity was improved? So, this can be done by making use of impurities. Okay, so, a new terminology is being explained here, that is impurities. What are these impurities? This does not mean that we add dust particles into the semiconductor. These impurities are nothing but some other amount of electron or some other elements are being interacted upon with this silicon and germanium to increase its conductivity. How it is being done will be dealt in extrinsic semiconductors. Fine. So, when a small amount, say a few parts per million ppm, as you can see, please remember here, this is very important, only a few parts per million, that is, if let us say there are 10 to the power 6 parts of your silicon or germanium, then only let us say 2 or let us say 5, 2 to 5 parts are being added upon, which are called as impurities of another element. So, impurities are very less, but those 2 to 5 parts only increases the conductivity with a very higher extent. So, when a small amount, say a few parts per million ppm of a suitable impurity is added to the pure semiconductor is in 100% silicon or 100% germanium, the conductivity of the semiconductor is increased many folds. Such materials are called as extrinsic semiconductors or impurity semiconductors. Okay. So, first of all, let us keep on discussing the difference between the intrinsic and the extrinsic semiconductors. The first thing till this point what we understood is that intrinsic semiconductors were completely pure semiconductors, that is, it is 100% silicon or 100% germanium. What happens in extrinsic semiconductors is 2 to 5 parts, let us say I am just taking an example, the exact values will be given in some of the tables, 2 to 5 parts per million, let us say if there are 10 to the power 6 parts of a silicon or germanium semiconductor, then 3 to 5 or 2 to 5 amount of impurity will be added. Impurity will be nothing but some another element will be added to the main semiconductor. So, the difference point is that it is 100% semiconductor, it is not 100% semiconductor, it has some impurities. Those impurities, that is why extrinsic semiconductor are also called as impurity semiconductor. Okay. Next thing is the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductor is less, the conductivity of extrinsic semiconductor is much higher. Then majorly intrinsic semiconductors cannot be worked in your room temperatures, but extrinsic semiconductors can be worked upon in room temperatures. Okay. Fine, let us move on. So, the deliberate addition of a desirable impurity is called as doping. So, new terminology again. So, what is doping? Basically the addition of these impurities into the 100% or let us say pure semiconductor is called as doping, and the impurity atoms are called as dopants. Okay. So, these are nothing but theoretical parts only. So, you just need to remember, because if a new terminology come, what is doping, so you should know that actually what is doping. So, it is nothing but a deliberate addition of a desirable impurity. Okay. Please remember, it is desirable impurity. So, if you will add anything, it will not work as a extrinsic semiconductor. Okay. Such a material is also called as a doped semiconductor, because doping is being done, hence it is also called as doped semiconductor. So, the name or the application of the semiconductor lies in the name only. The dopant has to be such that it does not distort the original pure semiconductor lattice. Okay. So, that basically means that the impurity should be such that actually if it is having a tetrahedral structure, the tetrahedral structure should not be changed to let us say a polygonal shape, or let us not deviate it from its original position. So, it should be such that it should not distort the original semiconductor lattice. Okay. So, let me stop the discussion of extrinsic semiconductor here only. We will go with further discussions in the next topic regarding this, what are basically the different types. So, basically just to quickly close the chapter here, concept here. So, extrinsic semiconductors are basically of two types, one is called as trivalent and one is called as pentavalent. So, as the name suggests, trivalent, so basically plus 3, and pentavalent basically plus 5. So, basically two types of extrinsic semiconductors are being dealt here. How it is different, why I made you to explain the topic, that is Ne is equal to Ni is equal to Nh, will be dealt in this further discussions on extrinsic semiconductors only. Okay. So, let me stop it here, we will start on this discussion in the next part of this lecture. So, thank you so much.